Okay, one other concept that we need to understand when we're looking at the piano keyboard is the idea of half steps and whole steps. Now, I don't think we talked about this when we talked about our first interval. We talked about octaves already. So we've talked about octaves as an interval. You know, an interval is a space in between two notes. So we need to talk about another one here. Now, when I said sharp, when we talked about sharps a second ago, so let's go back here, C sharp. I used the word or the phrase, a sharp means the note a little bit higher, okay? So let's define what a little bit means. A little bit means specifically something called a half step. Now, a half step is the smallest amount of space you can move between two notes. That's what it is. So let's pick a random note here. Okay, right here. Here's an F. Okay, this is an F. If I wanted to go up a half step from F, it would put me here. Half step is the smallest amount of space I can go. If I wanted to go down a half step, it would be here. Okay. The alternative is a whole step. A whole step is 2 half steps. Okay. So if I wanted to go up a whole step from F, I would end up on G, because this is a half step and then this is a half step. So this is a whole step. Okay, so this term whole steps and half steps becomes really important as we start to build chords and work with the material. So keep in mind, a half step is just the smallest possible thing you can do. Typically, it's between a note and the sharp of that note. That is a half step. That is 1 half step. But in some cases, it's not, like E. And a half step higher than E is F, because there's nothing in between. So that between these two notes are a half step, okay? If I went a whole step above E, I would go to F sharp, right? Because this is a half step, and this is a half step. So here to here is a whole step. So a whole step is just a amount of space in between two notes, as is a half step. But in this case, a whole step is 2 half steps. Okay? So that is really important to understand how that works, because it's going to be a very basic building block. Okay, let's jump to another video. In the next video, let's do a quick little review of the things we've covered in this section, and then I'll give you a little worksheet to practice on.